Hey guys, this is Lucas from Better Coding Academy, and in this video series, I'm going to be doing an in-depth tutorial on how to use Git. So let's first start off from the very beginning. For this series here, I am going to be using GitHub, but the instructions basically apply regardless of whether you're using GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab. It doesn't really matter. There are going to be obviously a few differences when it comes to creating keys and doing stuff like that, but when it comes to the command line and the actual Git commands themselves, they generally don't change across the platforms. So anyways, we're going to start off with GitHub here, and I'm going to show you the first step, which is creating a key and actually getting it working on your computer. So to do that, what we're going to do is go over to your account here. I'm logged in as just a dummy account here that I'm going to use. Zoom that in a little bit. And we're going to go to settings over here. And once we go to settings, then we can click on SSH and GPG keys. So this is the key that we're going to generate. Now this is one I generated a long time ago. We're going to generate a fresh one today. So we're going to have a look at the guide to generating SSH keys. Open this one in a new tab. You don't need a GitHub account to access this. What you can actually do is, even if you're using GitLab or Bitbucket, you can still follow these same instructions, or they probably have their own set as well. In any case, what I'm going to do here is for this section here on connecting to GitHub with SSH, we're going to click on generating a new SSH key. And actually the way I like to do it is open this one again in a new tab. So I've got this one over here. And then here it says generating a new SSH key. So it tells you to paste this text below and substitute in your GitHub email address. So what I'm going to do is grab this first part here. I'm going to copy paste that part there, and I'm going to paste it into my desktop here, or wherever you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. And then for the email address, I'm not going to be using my own personal email address. And for yourself, I don't want you to use your email address either. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the GitHub private email address, and I'm going to show you where to find that. So inside of GitHub here, and these instructions might not work for your platform depending on what it is, but for GitHub this works just fine. We're going to go over to emails, and over here in emails, we're going to go and grab this email address right here. So this one is the private email that is going to be used for web-based Git operations, stuff like that. This is the one I like to use because it doesn't give away any information about yourself. Like for example, if you don't want other people to see your email address when you do commits, this one is the one that I generally like to use. So we're going to copy, paste this one here, paste it right there with the double quote in front, and then put another double quote at the end. Zoom this in just a bit more. Right there. Okay, I cleared. So that's better. And then once you've written that, we're going to press enter, and then it's going to say generating this pair, and enter the file in which to save the key. Just use the default. And then for the passphrase, what you can do is just press enter. I always just leave it empty. Empty doesn't mean it has no security whatsoever. Basically, it just means that that you still need to have the SSH key to actually access any of your code. So that SSH key, if it lies on your computer and no one can take it, then it's fine. But then having the passphrase basically says that in addition to the SSH key, we have to also provide a passphrase. In any case, I don't really see this as necessary. You might disagree, in which case you can do that if you want, but I just find this to be quite a big hassle. In any case, we have our file here, and what we're going to do is go back to this tab here, connecting to GitHub with SSH, and I'm going to click adding a new SSH key to your GitHub account. So now once you've done this, we go here. They've got instructions for Mac, Windows, and Linux. I'm going to use the Mac one here. PV copy this, that's this one here. So I'm going to copy this, and then once I copy that, I'm going to paste that right here. And this one here is automatically pointed to this directory. So this directory here is my home directory, and inside of there, there's a folder, a directory called .ssh, which is invisible on like Unix-based systems, and inside of there we have a file called idrsa.pub. So that is going to be the public key. And if you know anything about encryption, if you basically we're copying and pasting this key, and we're going to give GitHub our public key. So over here inside of GitHub here, we go back to SSH and GPG keys. We click new SSH key, and you can add this one in. This one I might call, just in this case, Git tutorial video key or something like that. You can feel free to call it whatever you want, and then just paste this one here. And once you do that, it should look something like this. If yours starts by saying begin private key, then you've copied the wrong one. Make sure you copy the one that ends in a .pub extension. Click add SSH key, and I'll quickly explain what's going on here with the keys here. So this is what we call an asymmetric key encryption system. Basically what happens is it uses two keys. One key is a public key and one key is a private key. So what you're meant to do is keep a copy of the private key, which is ID_RSA, on your computer away from other people at all times. You never give this one to other people. But the ID_RSA.pub, that is the one that you give to someone else. So then what happens is basically, for example, in the case with GitHub, what they can do is if you send a request and you encode that request using your private key, so I encrypt it using my private key, then GitHub can use the public key to decrypt it. And basically what happens is, because you have a copy of the private key, GitHub says, oh, okay, so this data that I've received, I can decode using the public key that I have stored in my system. Therefore, this must be the correct user. So that way, GitHub doesn't know your private key. GitHub only has your public key, and you can give your public key to anyone. But as long as you keep the private key, that way it stays secure, and no one else can access your code that way. So this is not just for code. Obviously, SSH is something that is used across a lot of things, and specifically asymmetric encryption as well. But this is the idea of the use case here. So now once you've done this, and once we've added it here, what we can now do is we can clone your projects or like add a repository, stuff like that. So I've actually got one here from before called Potato Website. This one was from like a long time ago. But what I'm going to show you now is how to clone this one onto your computer. So here I've got Lucas BCA Potato Website, and then over here you'll notice it says clone or download. So if I click this link here, you see we have two options, either to clone with SSH or with HTTPS. Now, generally you always want to use SSH, especially for private repositories or anything that you own. If you like say clone a public repo like say Facebook/React or something, because you want to have a look or stuff like that, then you can use HTTPS. But for private repos, I tend to like to use the SSH one. In any case, what we're going to do is click this button here, which will copy it. Once you copy that, we're going to go here, let's just say on the desktop, and then we're going to create a directory here. I'm going to call mine GitHub, so we'll just use the GitHub directory here, and then I'm going to do git clone, and then we're going to paste in that URL. So once you do that, if you press enter, it will say cloning to the website, and then authenticity of host. So this should be something that comes up only one time, and you just type in yes, and it will add it to a list of known hosts. Once you do that, it will clone it into here, and you're ready to work on your code. And then you can pull, you can push, and you can do all that kind of stuff from there. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and please stick around for the next one. This has been Lucas from Better Coding Academy, and see you guys later.